You know the exact feeling. It's an electric physical rush that hits the moment a massive new idea lands in your mind. It simply sits there vibrating with potential, feeling like it is about to burst open into something real. The immediate, almost uncontrollable reflex is to share it. You pull out your phone, you draft a post, you announce it at dinner, and people respond. They offer praise, they tell you it's brilliant and that you are absolutely going to pull it off. But then weeks pass, the initial energy quietly evaporates. The fire goes cold. The project stays exactly where it began, as a beautiful concept living exclusively in someone else's ears rather than in your hands. We frame this need to broadcast our ambitions as a healthy, natural way to build support. The reality is that the instinct to share is a hidden psychological trap. It kills our dreams before we even take the first step. Consider a young man named Simon. By every standard metric, Simon had everything required to build a successful life. He was highly capable, deeply ambitious, and bursting with energy. One week he would map out plans to open a shop. The next week, he'd pivot to mastering pottery, then building a farm. Yet none of these plans ever materialized. Simon had a fatal habit. Before he bought a single piece of clay or hammered a single nail, he would stand in the village square and loudly broadcast his intentions to anyone who would listen. The crowd would clap, they would validate his ambition, and Simon, riding the emotional high of their approval, would go home and sleep the deep, satisfied sleep of a man who believed he had achieved something. He hadn't done a minute of actual work. Simon assumed he was lazy or perhaps incapable of focus. He was wrong. The primary obstacle standing between Simon and his goals was the exact applause he was actively seeking out. Analytical researcher Peter Alwitzer at New York University spent decades analyzing this exact behavior. His data revealed a stark negative correlation. People who actively announce their intentions to others are significantly less likely to ever follow through on them. This animated diagram of the brain illustrates exactly why. It shows a scientific concept known as social reality. When you share a goal and others acknowledge it, that social praise travels along a specific neural pathway. It triggers a massive glowing activation directly inside the brain's reward and achievement center. Notice these two input paths. The one on the left represents actual work. The one on the right represents planning plus praise. Both result in an identical chemical drop into the reward center. The brain's ancient circuitry literally cannot differentiate between the chemical reward of doing hard physical work and the chemical reward of being celebrated for planning to do it. Because the brain registers that external validation as actual progress, the glowing reward center starts to dim. It severs its connection to the output pathway for motivational drive. The biological hunger you need to push through obstacles quietly bleeds away because your mind believes the job is already partly done. Premature applause does not fuel your engine of achievement. It actively tricks your brain into shutting the engine off entirely. Exhausted by his own failures, Simon sat defeated at the edge of his village. A respected elder approached him. The elder offered no harsh critiques. Instead, he promised to answer Simon's lifelong frustration the following morning, using 2 identical seeds. The next day, the elder took the first seed straight to a group of playing children. He held it up high, loudly announced that it would become a magnificent tree, and soaked up their cheers. Then he placed that seed on a bare rock, fully exposed to the harsh sunlight, and walked away. He handled the second seed entirely differently. He carried it to a quiet corner of a garden. He buried it deep in the dark earth. He told no one it was there, and he returned every morning to water it in complete secrecy. Weeks later, the outcome was undeniable. The celebrated seed left exposed on the rock had dried up and died. The hidden seed nurtured quietly in the soil had broken through the earth as a living green shoot. The elder explained the mechanics of the metaphor. Dreams like seeds require darkness. They require silence. Exposing them to the crowd's applause pulls them out of the earth and starves them of the very energy they need to take root. For Simon, the realization was immediate. His ambition had never been flawed. His ideas were entirely viable. He had simply been spending the energy required for execution on empty words. He adopted a radical new approach. He chose a single specific goal: building a wooden chair. And for the first time in his life, he made a vow of absolute silence. He gathered no audience. He sought no praise. The reality of quiet work was stark. Without a crowd to cheer him on, Seemick had to push through late nights, splintered wood and ruined drafts. There was no safety net of social validation to catch him when he was tired. Removing the audience forced Simon to rely entirely on intrinsic discipline rather than cheap dopamine. When he finally placed the finished chair outside his door, the pride he felt was entirely his own. It was earned through quiet effort rather than borrowed from premature praise. Years later, Simon became the most respected craftsman in the village. His neighbors no longer heard about his unfulfilled plans. They only ever saw his completed tables, shelves, and doors. This is the core paradox of ambition. The less you speak about your goals, the more statistically likely you are to execute them. By keeping your intentions quiet, you force your brain to seek its reward in the actual work. When your next big idea arrives, resist the reflex to broadcast it. Put your phone down. Let the seed go into the ground and protect its fragile roots with complete silence. The world does not need to know what you intend to build. It only needs to see the undeniable proof of what you have built.